Hey there, everyone. It's Maria here. Good to be here with you today. So, if you can't make it live to these sessions and you'd like to be a part of it, you just simply go on to desk@introvertsuccessinitiative.com and just send us your questions, and we'll tag you into these Facebook Lives so that you get the answers when you're ready. All right, so today we have a couple of questions. Number one, what advantages do introverts have in business? Love this question. It seems like the world is run by extroverts, but surely there are some stealth strengths of introverts too, right? Yes, there are amazing strengths that introverts bring to the table with business. Now, when we talk about business, I love talking about business, but when we're talking about it, I always want to talk about the times that we're in. So it's very clear that these days, the face of business has changed. So as generations change, we need to, as business owners, we need to offer our clients different kinds of approaches, different kinds of services, all different kinds of things that actually serve the usability and the service of the product or the service in better and better ways, because people are more and more voting with their money, which is fantastic. That's the best way to do it. When people vote with their money, they basically decide who stays in business and who doesn't, unless of course there's a person who's in business who doesn't really care about their clients but has a lot of money to keep putting into it even if they're making a loss. But eventually that will run out. Now let's talk about the introverted qualities that are bringing a lot of value into the business world in this time, and at this timestamp. It's the 1st of August here in Australia of 2019, 11:33 a.m. So, and you can use this later on to prove me that I was wrong about something or whatever. I don't care. But this is how I see it's going to go. There are 4 different aspects, like introverted aspects that we have, that especially introverts are very good at, generally, depending on your wiring, okay? So one of those 4 aspects is what's called authenticity. Introverts are very good at doing things in the way that's actually right, in the way that's authentic, that is like a collective conscious. We have like these people who are keeping us on the straight and narrow, with telling us what's right and what's wrong, in life and in business and whatever. And authenticity is something that when it's brought into a business, it really stands the business out, because authenticity is not about being perfect. It's about and always putting the best foot forward. Authenticity is about bringing all of who you are as a human into that space and really embracing the authenticity of the client as well. So when you're dealing with a business that has high level of authenticity in it, you feel like you are the only person in the world, and that they're doing, and even if you realize that you're not, they are doing their level best to look after you as an individual, not as a number. So that's number one thing. Authenticity is, introverts generally have one of these 2, authenticity or then harmony on the other side, which is, an extroverted. But it's a way of relating to people in an authentic and way, and in a way of service. Okay, so that's authenticity. The second part that introverts generally are really good at is sensing. So introverted sensing, or if we look at, memory or tradition. The great thing about that is that it makes the introverted person, especially if it's in the driver, if in the adult self position. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, drop a note in the comments and we'll talk to you about it. Ursa and Val or myself will get back to you and tell you what we're actually talking about. So don't be put off. I'm sure you'll get some value out of this. But with that introverted sense, a lot of people who drive with introverted sensing part of them, they are grinders. They are consistent. They will continue to do the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, provided that it gives you the result that you want. Now, what's beautiful about this part of the introverts is that you are able to, so as you find out what works, you put it into your bank of memory that this is what works. And when that happens, now that becomes a reality for you. Okay? So there is really, from there on in, there's really only one option for you, and it's that activity, and that's what you do. Now, the challenge with that, of course, is that if you didn't get like if you think you're getting the results that you want, but you're not actually getting them, then you can continue to go down the wrong road for a while before you realize that you're not getting the results. So you do need to look at the actual results of what's happening with this. But these people are grinders. My brother-in-law drives with this process, or this introverted sensing. He is the hardest working person I have ever met, and he is consistent, and he's a grinder, and he is just relentless, and I just love that. So that's another thing that introverts can bring. Not all introverts, of course, but introverts who have, especially the ones that drive with introverted sensing, can really bring into a business is consistency and drive. You're going to do it until it's done. So that's fantastic. So another thing that introverts can do is get really accurate about things. So introverts are generally good at accurate, because we have the way of introspecting things, we can become very accurate of the process of what needs to be done. So we could be good at, for example, writing manuals, or, making sure that a program is built in a specific way that there's no gaps. So any introvert that has introverted thinking or accuracy in their stack, even if it's in the 10-year-old, that's fine, because it makes you very competent. You're just a super competent person, and generally you keep going because you don't tend to, the thinking part of us doesn't get bogged down by emotions very much. Whereas, of course, the feeling part of us does. The authenticity can get a little bit bogged down with that. So that's another thing that introverts in particular are excellent at, certain introverts, which is just keeping the process accurate and making sure that you're closing all the loops. And then finally, we have introverted intuition, which is actually my driver process. Introverted intuition or perspectives allows the introvert that has it to see perspectives other than their own. They can very easily put themselves into the shoes of other people and just really just, feel what the other person's feeling, really relate to it, really have a lot of empathy, but at the same time, make connections, because intuition is a pattern recognition skill, effectively. People with introverted intuition can make connections in their heads that nobody else has seen. So they can predict what's going to happen before it happens, because they've been collecting, with that introverted intuition, they've collected so much data in their heads that they're because it's an information gathering part of you, you continue to gather information. So you don't say this is the absolute truth, but you say, well, the likely outcomes are this, and this, and I'm open to changing those. So they're not really married to their own opinion, but they are usually very insightful in terms of delivery. So if you have a business and you have an introverted intuition part of you, and you really work with that, you can get amazing, groundbreaking ideas of doing things in ways that haven't been done before. So what that means is that you can foresee problems before they happen, but you can also come up with solutions that nobody else has thought about before. And then when you implement those solutions, it might take your business just off the charts. So that's what the kind of the strengths that introverts bring to the table with with within business, and none of those things are outward facing. But if you match those things with outward facing activities, because as an introvert you will have had a lot of introspective time, if you can learn the outward facing activities, now you become unstoppable. I've seen so many INFPs, INFJs too, who are often being told that they'll never succeed in business, to do extremely well in business because they balance themselves out by learning the outward facing activities, and they're unstoppable. Many people, some people even in this group. All right, so that's question number 1. I hope that answered that question. Number 2, what roles do our inner children play in our business? Fantastic questions today. I'm loving this. I'm a coach and want to bring more of my inner children into my professional life. Okay. Rule of thumb, when you are not really experienced parenter of your inner children. So if you don't have a huge amount of experience and mileage in parenting your inner children, and if you haven't already been able to share your inner children on a personal capacity, don't bring them into your business. Okay, because if they take over when they're feeling vulnerable, you can make really bad business decisions. In fact, that's why 80% of the world's businesses fail in the first 5 years, because the children are in charge. So what we want to do instead is we want to bring essences of those children into the business. So they're in a supportive role, but kind of in the back office with Auntie Margaret, who is our imaginary child care professional who's always available. So whenever we need to go and do some adulting out there in the outside world, we can leave our inner children with Auntie Margaret so that they don't come and meddle with what we're trying to do. So what you do then, so I'll just use myself as an example. So I have my 2 inner children are accuracy at 10-year-old and sensations at 3-year-old. So introverted thinking, accuracy, and extroverted sensing, sensations. Now, how I can, instead of using those to run my business, because the bad sides of those, or the counterproductive in business sides of those parts of me are, with the accuracy, it's like not taking into consideration how people are feeling and emotion. Imagine running a coaching or mentoring business without having empathy and capacity to really feel for the other person. It's not going to take you very far. But it's also exhausting for your inner child, inner 10-year-old or my inner 10-year-old to try and figure out what's wrong with the person. That's because, you don't use those parts of, you're not meant to be using those parts of you predominantly. And then the sensations 3-year-old, if she was in charge of collecting information in my business, what it would look like is me constantly checking the emails to get the validation that everything's okay. So we don't want to do that. But what we can do is we can harness those parts of us to look at, to help the grown-up parts of us to run the business most effectively. So I'm using the accuracy part of me to make sure that I'm crossing all the T's and dotting all the I's on, and I'm still obviously not getting it perfect, but that's okay. On any documentation, any courses I'm running, making sure that people are getting the emails when they need to get the emails. Like, for example, if people are signing up for the Integration Mentor program, a year-long program that we send out 36 modules for them, and that doesn't include the introductory module, which is the introductory email is very personalized because people have different circumstances and they need certain different information. So before I send out that email, instead of just, using my harmony decision maker, which is extroverted, everything's fine, everybody loves everybody and all that kind of stuff, I use the accuracy just to double check, are these details actually accurate? So I just take a couple of minutes to ask her to help me go through that stuff, sweet, and then it can be sent. The other thing that I do, so with the other inner child, the 3-year-old inner child, the extroverted sensing part, it's the strength that she can really bring into the business is looking for information in the outside world that is numerical. So when I'm looking at, so instead of feeling like, oh my God, things are bad, she's actually really good at seeing what are the numbers and just reporting that back to me. So she's the one that I say, hey, you know, I think this is what the numbers are, because I'm doing like my introverted information collector is introverted intuition. So I can imagine what the numbers are. I have a pretty good idea and anticipation of what the numbers actually are. But I want the little 3-year-old to come with me and just double check those numbers. Just so that I'm not, you know, imagining things going better or worse than what they actually are. So that is really the only role that I would allow the inner children to be in terms of business. But as I said, if you have not been able to introduce your inner children to any people in your life that you trust and value in a way that's effective, that you basically practice this supportive roles outside of your business, then please don't bring them into the business, because it just complicates things unnecessarily. So practice in a place where they can't lose money for you or lose reputation for you. Just practice in those situations, and only then bring them in to support the grown-up processes, the adult self and the inner parent. So I hope that answers that question. These are great questions. So any questions, comments, confusions, just pop them down into the comment section. And I look forward to being here with you next week. Any questions at all, just send them over to desk@introvertsuccessinitiative.com. If you want me to answer any of your questions, be as detailed as you possibly can, so that I can give you as detailed answer and helpful answer as I possibly can. Have a great day, everyone. I'll talk to you next week.